Some of the nation's biggest law firms are at a crossroads as President Donald Trump targets them with potentially crippling executive orders. One of the most prominent firms, Paul Weiss, responded by making a deal with the president. The concessions include abandoning its diversity policies and doing $40 million worth of pro bono work on causes the president supports. In return, Trump rescinded his executive order that suspended the firm's security clearances. Another prominent firm, Perkins Coie, decided to mount a defense against the president's order, which removes security clearances from the firm's lawyers, essentially making them ineligible to represent clients in sensitive cases. We're joined now by attorney Rachel Cohen. She resigned from her law firm in protest over big law not standing up to the president. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us. Why do you think the administration is revoking these security clearances, targeting these law firms?
I think that it's a one-pronged and a multi-pronged attack on the judiciary broadly. And I think that there's an attack on the judiciary broadly because the administration is trying to stage a coup.
How is that?
We have one branch of government that's able to check Donald Trump in his current second term. Early on in his administration, he's been blanketing shock and awe executive orders. And the only real pathway to preventing that, giving everyone a second to breathe, is the judiciary. And Donald Trump has been launching attacks on judges and also ignoring judges' orders. We just saw him deport 200 people, human beings, over a judge's order. But we need lawyers to bring the cases. He can't just attack judges. And so he's also targeting large corporate law firms as a seat of legal power in this country.
His administration has argued that they did not violate the judge's orders. That is in the process of being adjudicated now. What do you see as the impact of this deal between Paul Weiss, the firm, and the Trump administration?
I think it is devastating for legal resistance in this country. To remember that the Trump administration, while it's being extremely strategic here, doesn't have very many good attorneys. And giving $40 million of free legal services from one of the best law firms in the world to advance Trump administration aims, not only kneecaps ability to resist him because these attorneys are then conflicted out of taking certain cases that challenge the Trump administration, but it provides him with a much needed cadre of really effective attorneys, which I think right now he's sorely lacking.
The argument from the firm, the leadership at Paul Weiss, was that without some kind of deal like this, they would have been destroyed. Do you think they had a choice?
I think that we see they have a choice in Perkins Coie and the way that they've chosen to handle this. And I also know that Paul Weiss had over $2 billion in revenue last year. And if they don't think that they can effectively litigate against an executive order that is broadly agreed to be unconstitutional, then perhaps I rescind what I said about them being extremely effective litigators.
I wonder if you think other firms might change their behavior as a result of this, if you think perhaps your resignation might change the dynamic.
I'm hoping that my resignation changes the dynamic, and I think we've at least seen that we now are able to get someone to talk about it on the news, because that has been a huge issue, that there are people unwilling to speak on the record about this. And I engaged in a lot of organizing inside my firm and across the industry broadly to try to coordinate some type of effective industry response to this all-out attack. And I was unable to do that, and so needed to kind of change the narrative a little bit more. So we've seen an escalation by an individual, but on behalf of a much broader movement that I think is occurring across the industry. And I'm hopeful that as we continue to see that play out, I don't expect other people to quit their jobs. They're not positioned the same way I am, but I'm hoping that associates, for example, will refuse to recruit or interview on behalf of firms that will not protect their associates and the rule of law.
Rachel Cohen, we appreciate you sharing your story with us. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, Boris.
So there are a lot of worries weighing on the minds of